Greetings from HOD Pod, an unofficial podcast and YouTube series on HBO's House of the Dragon. I am your host, the Dark Knight of Westeros, Sir Benjamin of David, and with me as always is my Hand of the King and co-host, Stephen of House Davinci. Say hello, Stephen.
Hello, hello.
We are recording live, as always, from Davinci's Dreamworks 2 comic shop here in sunny Jensen Beach, Florida. We got comics, we got games, we got the Dark Knights of Steel comics, we have a Song of Ice and Fire games, all kinds of fun Thrones and comics related things. Please subscribe to both audio and here on the channel so you guys don't miss an episode. Follow us on Instagram at House of the Dragon Pod. I keep saying Facebook coming soon and it's episode 8. But, there is a season 2 renewal, so I promise the Facebook will be coming soon. So as always, we have a recap and review today of HOD, House of the Dragon. This week, is episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. As always, we also have news from the Red Keep. Non-spoiler initial thoughts, meaning there will always be a wall. 'Tis Westeros, so there is a wall. Spoiler wall. And then our recap review proper. We walk through the episode, beat by beat, of what happened. And then we also have a couple breaks. We have dragon counts. We count up what dragons we see, or in this episode, do not see, Sir Stephen. Why do they keep withholding dragons in a show called House of the Dragon? We don't know. We also have lore breaks, where Sir Stephen here has read the books, upon which, the book upon which House of the Dragon is based, which is Fire and Blood. And he's also read A Song of Ice and Fire, which is important because I, Benjamin, have not. So it's good to have Stephen for our lore breaks. And then this week we do have an IG comment that we mentioned last week, so we're going to read that. And it actually deals with a prediction for what I thought would have unfolded this episode. But spoilers. What I will spoil right now is that we were pretty disappointed in this one. Anyway, let us commence the show proper. We have news from the Red Keep. We always begin with news from the Red Keep. So this week I figured we could talk about how there's another cast change, which, I'm over the fact that there's time jumps per episode. Go for it, whatever. This one I actually, for all the time jumps, I was like, okay. Like, you age the kids up, it felt necessary. This cast, I thought, was actually pretty good. I think the kids, they were saying in the inside the episode that the kids were all between the ages of 17 to 21. So it's kind of cool to see them of Succession age, of, the show is about Succession, as we've been talking about. So it's cool to kind of see them of age. What did you think of the new cast of kids?
I thought the kids did fine. They looked good. They delivered all their lines pretty well. Yeah, everything seemed fine regarding them anyways.
Yeah. What was coming out of their mouths, the writing, was another story. But yeah, I thought the kids delivered. I thought they were good. It annoys me that Matt Smith doesn't seem to age on the show.
Well, it's because he's a vampire. He got Morbin time.
Sir Krista Cole also doesn't look any different from the 17 years, apparently, that we last saw him as a hot Dornish knight. I mean, a little bit older, but what's that about?
Now he just sits out in the training yard.
What were you saying? Bad Kristen.
Bad Kristen. Now you're replaced by Sir Eric with 2 R's and a K, but it's not where you think.
Yeah. I forget the name of my Secret Service. What was your name? Oh, it's spelled Eric. That's right. I keep forgetting because I change you every week. Doesn't make much sense, but
every week.
Again, that's the theme of this episode, unfortunately. Anything else, news from the Red Keep? You think we can move on to non-spoiler thoughts, Stephen?
Yeah, I don't recall anything specific. It's like even at Comic-Con, it's not like they showed a trailer.
Oh, yeah, Con was this past week. Right. Nothing from Con, huh?
No.
I guess because to promote it, they would have had to do so in July, which was all San Diego, and now it's New York. So, yeah, good point. Yeah, and New York's smaller anyway. I mean, it's typically, it's still number 2 to the mothership, but
they did all the Star Trek trailers, though.
Oh,
they were
nice.
Pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, I shouldn't diminish New York. New York's my jam, obviously, Jersey boy. It's so weird not like how New York Con was such a big part of my life, and then after COVID, it's just like, then again, I needed a break because I was like all in. Anyway, cool. That is news from the Red Keep. Moving on to episode 8, The Lord of the Tides, non-spoiler thoughts. Stephen, tell us everything that you liked in broad strokes without spoiling. This will be short.
Viserys and Daemon, I thought, did very well in the episode. Also, Rhaenyra. I thought Rhaenyra was very good in the episode. The kids all did fine. Aemon looks good. He's got his eye patch now, like you've seen from the trailers and such, and obviously the episode. But yeah, he looks good. He acts a lot like his character from the book, so starting to get that badass. As one would when you have like the most powerful dragon in the world at this point. But yeah, those characters all had good scenes. They acted quite well. No really cringe stuff from them, but it's too bad that they're not in the episode most of the time. Even stuff with Viserys, it's only like one moment in which he's like not on milk of the poppy.
Yeah, when our king is off heroin is brief. Yeah. Any other? Not again. You didn't have to start with things that you like. That was a more sarcastic thing because, yeah, I mean, we didn't like the episode. But anything else? Non-spoilers for episode 8. You could be honest.
Oh, bad accent lady shows up. You know who's an important character in the book and isn't really in the show. Very Three's Company ending for this episode. Yeah. It's just a big misunderstanding.
Shrug.
What's the worst that could happen? Oh, all of our kids have nukes.
Freeze frame. All right, cool. So you good for non-spoilers?
Yeah, we can jump the wall.
Oh, okay. Well,
I guess.
Yeah, God. Yeah, mine are going to be brief. I was not a fan for the 4th time, I think I've already said. And I unfortunately think that after 8 episodes, I can fairly say, I don't think it was fair to say last episode, but 8 is like, I don't think the show is as good as Thrones. I'll start with that. Definitely not as good as Thrones. I'm getting almost, if we had to compare, I'm not going to say season 8, but it's like, I will say this feels like the end of season 7 quality Game of Thrones, where it's like, these are characters I know and I'm supposed to know, but they're not acting like in a way that makes any sense. We're rushing both in like a, you know, I was saying like the writer's room cards on the wall. So it's like the broad strokes of the whole season, where it's going big plot wise, and then also dialogue from characters and choices from characters. And you're just like, can we either get to the point, or can you show us what you're trying to show us, or can you stop showing us things and doing weird at least there was no voiceover in this episode. I'll say that was really driving me nuts. I was like, if this is some kind of thematic per episode thing that they do, like, I'm truly dipping out of this shit. Ending it with rats, deported rats, that had to stop. Glad that didn't happen. Yeah, so I can fairly say I just don't think it's as good as the rest. You know, Steven and I were talking off mic how I think I agreed, didn't quite consider this until now, but it's skippable to this point. It's like, I really feel like you could just jump into Thrones. If someone was to ask me, you know, Game of Thrones franchise recommendations, you don't need this. I don't think it's terrible, but I'm really hoping to switch to positive. There are 2 episodes left. You know, it's still 2 hours of time. What's been driving me nuts is that it's like you have an hour a week. It's a lot of time. 10 hours, a lot of time. Especially when we feel, and to complain one more second, and then I'll try to get positive before we get to the wall. But it's like, you know, we were talking about off mic again that it felt like this episode was dragging ass, especially Dragon
Count 1, dragon ass.
Dragon ass is a character in this show because that's what they do. Unfortunately, is like, if we're feeling dragging in a show that especially is doing all these time jumps, and I guess to their credit, that sometimes I'm sure could make things harder. It's like, well, now we have to do a time jump, so we have to respect the time we're in, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Point is, figure it out. If it feels like it's dragging and you're getting nowhere, like big time, what do I want to say? Broad strokes again, plot-wise, like the grander plot. It's like, dude, just get to the fucking point. I don't know.
Well, you said it best earlier. You're like, I don't like to look at the time, but you have to keep looking at the runtime. I was like, this is probably the first time I actually scrolled over to see the runtime. Like, how much do we got left?
Yeah. Seriously, yeah. I was saying, yeah, like, I try not to check the runtime too much until it's about what I think in my head is like halfway through. So it's like, all right, if it's 30 minutes in, go for it. I'm like, I looked at it, it was 37 minutes, and the only thing that had happened is Vayman had gotten his head chopped off, and basically that's all that happened in a show about a civil war with dragons.
Yeah.
And it's like a bunch of people talking. I just, And as I said, if this is one of your first episodes, if you didn't hear the episode where I talked about, Game of Thrones can pull off people talking in rooms. It works for palace intrigue. It has its place. Much of season 1 was that because they didn't even have the budget. Now we have all the budget in the world. Give us a couple scenes, plenty of scenes with people talking in rooms. Got no problem with it. But I want to see dragons not dragging ass. Can't even talk anymore. I don't know. I just want to see dragons rip dragon scale flesh from each other's bones and fire and blood. And I'll stop because I was saying to Stephen off mic as well, listening to myself objectively from last episode, I was like, I don't even know if I would want to listen to a guy complain this much and be so angry. So I'm going to try to be less angry this time. I had my own version of Milk of the Poppy before recording. No, but I just, I mellowed out a little bit before coming on and was like, let me just try to not be too negative. Again, switching positive, it's like, I agree. I think that there were characters that were good. I think Daemon throughout this was pretty good. I think that Aemon is the oldest, eye patch, or the mid.
He's the middle one.
And Aegon's the oldest?
No, Helena's technically the oldest.
And so who's the older brother set to be king?
Aegon.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Aegon, I think, again, the kids, fine. You know, that was decent stuff. The scene between Vayman, again, we don't want to spoil too much right now, but like that whole confrontation was pretty good. But more of that. And yeah, I think that's it before I revert inevitably back to negative. So are you ready to climb the wall, so Stephen?
We didn't fall off the wall yet? The editor should just play the one where they're climbing and the big scythe comes through and they scream. That's us.
I actually had that, and the hand is just waving.
Dangling, yeah.
I was thinking that last episode, as I said, we shall climb, whatever episode I was like, we shall climb with ice picks. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, this episode, we should just get the scythe because,
Time to clean the wall.
All right, so let us climb the wall. All right, so now it's time for our walkthrough, beat by beat of the episode. Before we get to the episode proper, in the opening theme, Daemon's dragon helmet. I don't know if you noticed this, but past couple episodes, since he's been a Dragonstone, or maybe it was the Pentos episode, either way, but the dragon helmet that he was rocking in the tourney in episode 1 is part of one of those little circle thing.
Yep.
Pretty cool. Is that because he's now at Driftmark, Lord of Driftmark?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're showing you the lines. So they're going to have the blood flowing into him. So Rhaenyra's blood is now going to flow into him, and then it's going to flow outward to the newer children that we just got in this episode.
Ah.
Yeah, because she's pregnant with their third child.
And I was confused. I guess we'll get to it, but is there another new kid named Aegon again?
Yes.
What is happening?
Now that's a reason.
The names in the show are so annoying.
No, that's a reason in the books for why people get upset, because she decides to name her kid Aegon because he's true Aegon and one that'll possibly go on to the throne.
Ice and Fire Aegon.
Yeah. And the other one is like, that's a Hightower Aegon.
Oh, and this just hit me. So that's what we're talking about in that stupid French bedroom farce thing at the end with the two Aegons?
Well, no.
Is that part of that?
No, he's talking about the story of original Aegon, and
but so
she
then
thinks
3.
it's Prince Aegon. But there's 3 of them.
Oh my God, so annoying. I just put all that together. Go ahead.
But yeah, so when she names him that, in spite of Alicent. So, yeah, Alicent, of course, is pissed, and it's the Greens versus the Blacks, and, they already have their conflict brewing. But in this, you'll see when you get to the end. We're going to get a Three's Company ending. Yeah, it's just a misunderstanding. No big deal. No big deal. We're all friends except for this one thing. How dare you? Yeah, so what, 6 years time skip?
Yeah, so we open in Driftmark. It's been near 6 years since I last saw my husband.
Yeah. So Corlys gets maybe off-screened, very un-Game of Thrones fashion. Because, we have the Stepstones battles. That's always looming, but we don't see.
You can't show gory battle scenes.
Yeah, I was... constructive criticism. Just by every Game of Thrones episode ever. Just show the sea snake who's a badass, and you got a good actor. Just show him like Sparta kicking a bunch of pirates off his boat, and one gets up on him and slits his throat, and he falls into the water. And then we're like, oh no! And then that news gets back to them. Instead, this guy is just the maester's describing in details like he got cut across the throat, and she's like, and he fell into the water. Oh no! So he's dead. He's like, there was a lot of blood. So what's that? He's like, we got him. So we got him patched up, but we don't know if he'll make it. She's like, it'll be like 3 days before he gets here. Have the maesters ready. It's like, so the guy is not dead. He is dead. What? You have all this detail? What's going on? It's like, that could have been something we just saw. Yeah. We saw it, and then we as the audience have to wonder, because we have no connective meaning to matter at this point. We're like, okay, what does this matter? And Vaemon's like, because I should be on the throne of Driftmark. And I'm like, and that matters why?
Oh, real quick, could you cut the air? Forgot about the AC. I'll take it over from here, Steven. Yeah, so I don't know, this whole thing with Vaemon, that felt forced too, of like, oh, here's a really forced reason to now have another theme of succession, but from another family. It's just like, that could have been, like you said, we could have just seen the thing with Corlys, and then as the audience, we have to think about what's going to happen with it, right? And then there's one line in the Hall of Nine where she gets the news / it brings the audience back into what the hell could be going on. And then you have the thing of Vaemon not be nearly as forced, which is just like, oh, upon this news, oh shit. Instead, it's like, I'm coming to you with all that I'm about to say. Like, he has his lines all ready for her. And that's not how human life works. And the beauty of Thrones was like, people got news the way people get news in real life. And people got surprised like people get. It's like, what's that saying? Life is what happens while you're making plans. It's like, stop making this shit so high fantasy. It feels very much like, Lord of the Rings type, here's news from the crown, and here's my idea of success, ta-ta-ta-ta. And like, whereas Thrones, it all felt human and real. Thank you for turning off the says Steven. I don't know. Yeah, so Corlys' succession comes into question. Vaemon submits his own right to the Driftwood throne. The winds have shifted. The crown will rule in my favor, which was a corny line, I thought.
Yeah.
Coming from a Seamaster.
He sends an official petition to the current ruling bodies of King's Landing, because obviously the High Towers are in control while the king is sick.
Yeah. All right. Anyway. Oh, that was what I was going to say. At least we got our first mention of a raven, correct?
Yeah. Can't afford any birds in the show, but
Yeah, because a bird wrangler costs a ton of money. God damn it. We arrived to Dragonstone. Really nice, I'll say. Big sweeping shot of the castle. A lot of good camera work in this episode, which extra annoyed me because again, it's like you could have showed us Corlys kicking some dudes off boats and the Pirates of the Caribbean theme swells. Instead, you have this awesome shot of behind the Driftwood throne. And a lot of visual symbolism, too. It's like behind the throne, so you're not seeing the front of the throne. So it's like an obscured version of the throne because the actual person, throne bearer, is not there, right? So it's kind of this, oh shit, the cops are coming. We're blasphemy of the throne. Treason, Stephen. So it's like this obscured thing of the throne, and the queen's there just in place, and then there's this talk of succession. Really cool shit. Just show that to us after the swashbuckling scene, right?
Yeah. The big thing that this show likes to do is definitely show us more of things that we haven't necessarily seen. So, like, different angles of Driftmark. Because, again, Driftmark's only in the show, which is a cool place.
We had never seen it in Thrones, right?
Right. And then the Dragonstone, we sweep over from a totally different angle because we're coming up through the seaside.
So much so that I didn't quite recognize it. I was like, is that Dragonstone?
And they do that on purpose because, like, if we're not showing a new place, then we're going to show different vantage points.
Nice.
And then they sweep over it, and we go to the cliffside mountains that's on Dragonstone, which is where the dragons will sometimes be at. And we get a spelunking Damon out mountain climbing. He's looking for some...
Spelunking. Is that like cave diving?
Yeah, it's like cave diving. He's looking for some dragon spunk that might be on the ground. He finds some.
He meets up with Christian Bale. But yeah, that shot of the castle, also the motif of Dragonstone, the motif of the Dragonstone theme playing. I like how they bring back the music from Thrones. Yeah, Damon scoops a fresh clutch of eggs. This was cool. I like seeing the clutch. We had never seen a clutch before, a fresh one, freshy.
Yep. Big mucusy sack.
It's all steamy and mucusy.
Yeah, which will have usually 1 to 3 eggs in it.
Okay. So now, was this whole thing like the book? Like the clutch, how it all was?
Yeah, the dragons lay clutches of eggs, and he does say that the right dragon, Cyrax, which is Rhaenyra's dragon, lays clutches of eggs. If you remember a few episodes ago where Rhaenyra tries to patch things with Alicent, she was like, I'll offer your son one of Cyrax's dragon eggs when she has a clutch. Because obviously she's a younger dragon, she will have clutches of eggs. And, you can marry your daughter to my son. That way, our families are united on the throne anyways. But she didn't take the deal anyhow, but they did pay off the fact that the dragon is going to have a clutch of eggs, and that will matter. In the book, it matters more because these eggs in particular are the ones that get
can we
stolen.
pause real quick? Do you want just this to be the dragon count since this episode?
This is all that there is for dragons.
All right, so
they name one. You see one egg. They say there's 3. We don't see 3.
So for editing purposes, just throw the dragon count in before we start talking about this, because this is all we got.
0.
Anyway, okay. So also, can you first of all continue with what you were saying? Then I have a question.
Sure. So in the books, these eggs are the ones that technically get stolen and eventually end up in Pentos. So these are essentially the ones that Daenerys are going to end up getting, which kind of connects Daenerys to Rhaenyra, other than the bloodlines thing, but that she'll end up with her dragons. It's always been rumored that those are the eggs that she gets, but we get no hint because we don't even have the character from the book that steals the eggs. We haven't seen her. They haven't mentioned her. And he just gives the eggs to the attendants to go take to the warming chamber. So who knows what's going to happen, or if they're just going to have the dragon lay another clutch of eggs, and then those will be the ones stolen. Maybe season 2. I don't know. Maybe they forgot. They forget a lot of things.
Yeah. It was cool seeing how they were all steamy and fresh. I like the ice pick thing and the alien franchise, opening Saki thing. Trying to find positives. So those guys, you said attendants, were they also dragon tamers? Because they were speaking High Valyrian, they had the big sticks. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So that's like his crew of dragon tamers?
Yes, because Dragonstone has its own area where the dragons reside.
Ah.
Yeah, we don't see it. We haven't seen it yet, but...
Why show that? Why would you show that? It's called House of the Dragon. Damn it, Steven.
We don't need to see the House of the Dragon's second house. We saw the main house. It's their little pit.
Yeah, I know. We saw the dragon pit once. Again, this is just me getting angry again. Shouldn't be a podcast of Ben getting angry. It's not about me.
Yeah. But then we get a cut to, obviously, the table, the famous table that's of Westeros, while Jacaerys, the oldest one, is getting his lessons in High Valyrian.
Yeah, so we're still on Dragonstone, yeah.
And his mom's, watching him.
Now, is that the throne room before it's the throne room?
Yes, which we do see in Game of Thrones, because Daenerys actually sits in that, but it's open. They put that table in the war room section, which is out seen towards the ocean. It's where the dragon carvings are. In this case, the table's right there in the main throne area, which is interesting.
So is the throne there yet? The Dragonstone throne?
Yeah, it should be there.
Oh, it is there. They're just setting up other stuff in that room.
Right, because it's supposed to be the upcoming heir's seat. That's where they are, because it's to represent. This is where Aegon was before he became king. So their whole lore is that whoever is the next heir, they're allowed to move to Dragonstone and reside there until they're ready to take the throne. So typically, like the oldest kid, or when Daemon was the heir, Daemon would be there.
Got it. So word comes to Daemon of Vaemon's claim to succession. Again, Jace is learning High Valyrian, an ambitious student, to say the least. I kind of like that about him. Reminds me of my own obsession learning languages, when you just repeat things to an annoying level. They do say, though, when you are learning languages real quick, that it takes 75 times to actually hear and say the word before you, quote, truly can retain it, especially depending on the learning level. So that felt very real. I actually like that, because in a world where learning a language, in this case High Valyrian, to both learn your own history as a person of Valyrian blood, but also communicate with the dragon community, let's call it, dragon tamers, all that. I mean, literally, Daemon couldn't talk to the dragon tamers and control this whole empire of flying nukes without speaking High Valyrian. So yeah, it's crucial to their culture, to their especially those in charge, to know this language. So that all kind of felt very Game of Thrones real. Rhaenyra's preggers again.
Yep, she's already also had 2 kids off screen. So this is third.
This is the third of Daemon's?
Yes.
Okay. Damn, those Targaryens get down, son.
Yeah.
So this is her
clutch of dragon eggs.
So this is her 6th kid now?
Yeah.
God damn. They don't stop.
And her 3rd suitor.
That's right. Oh shit, you're right. So Daemon and Rhaenyra talk of the Valerian succession issue, meaning, which implies that her own kids' succession come into question.
Right, because while it doesn't really matter, because even Luke doesn't really care too much for the Driftmark throne, by having the petition stand, it illegitimizes his right to the throne, to the Driftmark throne, which may illegitimize Jace's right to the standard throne. So that's what worries them. They're like, this will give them any little piece, which will give them a little bit ahead, and we can't have that at all. So we need to stop this right where it's at. So this is why it's important that they go to King's Landing to counter the petition.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and then he's like, we shall go to King. Whatever his line is, Daemon's line, it was a very reluctant, all right, we got to go to Grandpa's to take care of business.
To King's Landing we go.
Yeah, so Daemon and Rhaenyra decide to sail for King's Landing. We arrive. Again, great shot of the Red Keep. Cool shots of castles in it.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about a couple episodes ago, I think it was, and you just mentioned, similarly, on Dragonstone, you're getting angles of places that we have seen before but new, right? So it's you've gotten places that you've seen before but new angles, especially in a show that is not globetrotting, as people often complain about. I personally don't have much of a problem with it. I get why people do, but we have talked about in previous episodes, that's a big criticism of this show over Thrones, or versus Thrones, is that you're not as globetrotting throughout Westeros and Essos and such. But this is if you're not going to do that, give us new angles. Red Keep a couple episodes ago, we got that kind of the back door of the Red Keep when Otto is being exiled. That reminded me of this, and specifically with the Gothic style of architecture on the Red Keep, that certainly there was a big Gothic influence in Game of Thrones version of the Red Keep, but in this you could tell they're really driving that home, and there's probably more of the Red Keep actually intact, I'm assuming. Yeah. During this time.
And, a big thing that they have to do is it's a place that's familiar to us. We know King's Landing, we know the Red Keep. So being able to show us something new lets us experience it, experience the richness of King's Landing, because it's a big place. And, even Game of Thrones, we only stuck to certain areas. In this one, we spend a lot of time with the Weirwood Tree area, because presumably that got cut down.
Oh yeah, because there is no Godswood in You're right.
we
And
don't
Thrones
see it.
at the Red Keep. Yeah.
They probably took it out because religion constantly like takes over in King's Landing, and it's only like one that's there. Sure, they'll say the old gods, but I didn't see the tree, and I'm pretty sure they did cut it down.
You think that's Allison being like, new gods only, motherfucker?
I don't know.
Next episode is her out there with a
I don't
cherry.
know if it's her. I think it's gonna be from what happens after.
She has Sir
Dance of
Kristen
the
cut it down
Dragons.
by himself.
Give him something to do.
Yeah, give him something to do. Remove yourself from the yard and go to the godswood and chop it down by yourself.
You didn't bring me a child's eye. You're no longer my number one knight.
Bad Kristen. Yeah, so quiet, awkward, waiting outside the gates of the Red Keep. I thought, once again, the inside the episode gave me some insight into what I'm supposed to be watching, which is the writer Ryan Condal explaining the show that we didn't see. And him saying this week that he's like, yeah, this place is now more of a monastery than the kind of active castle, the orgy murals of ancient Greece and Kama Sutra Targaryen family have been replaced by stars of the seven and this symbology of the new gods and this whole kind of I say pseudo because it's bullshit from Allison's point of view, at least, of like justification for what she's been doing and her takeover is very much hiding behind the religion thing.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the seven and all that, the new gods, the Church of the Seven, let's call it, the Vatican is an Old Town location, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that all kind of comes from Old Town and the Maesters and everything. So she clearly is justifying it kind of through that, but you could tell it's like, yeah, you're full of shit. The King's Council, this was actually pretty funny. Lord Beesbury is giving an exhaustive report.
As usual.
Fucking Beesbury.
Yeah. So the old maester's been replaced by the competent one, but probably not in time to actually do any good for the king.
Uh-huh. No, I think, as we're going to talk about, I think Viserys is looking good this episode. I couldn't even get it out. The Walking Dead King.
Yeah.
The Walking King. Yeah, so I just thought that was very Game of Thrones, too, of like, finally there's some humor back. We talked a couple episodes ago that, hey, there's humor back in this show. Good, because Thrones had some of it, and it makes it feel more human, because things are funny in life. Things can be both funny and horrific and feel like high fantasy, I guess. But anyway, Allison is rocking the star of the seven right there on her garb.
Yep.
She's really going for it there. Yeah, but I like that kind of King's Council scene, and this is what it's to drive home the idea that she's who is in charge. It's her and Otto. For show. Then we're at the King's Quarters. The Lego set is at its fullest representation of old Valyria.
Well, it also shows how unattentive Viserys has been, because obviously that thing's been pristine, it's been worked on, but now there's cobwebs all over it. You see it didn't actually get finished.
Good point.
Yeah, to show that he hasn't even had time to do even his hobbies.
I mean, some people are keeping those chimney things going, though. There's a little smoke coming out of it. I thought those are cool effects. Is that like the train pellets?
Probably.
Viserys, again, looking good. A lot of breathing.
A lot of heavy breathing.
I mean, dude, like minutes. For a show, once again, it's like, if you want to take gross Game of Thrones time, meaning like, if you want to drag out scenes in a human way of that's what it would be like to watch someone die, fine. But don't then take away from the plot. When you have minutes of like this dude just over and over is groaning and breathing, and you could tell they really were turning up the mic on his, you could hear like his just mouth opening and saliva and all of it. Jesus, dude. Gross ass Foley work, Steven. But I will respect kind of the horror angle of that, which is I saw last week the movie for spooky season. I'm not a big horror guy, but I saw last week the movie Barbarian. Really good. $4.5 million. Really impressive project. And we're not here to talk about horror, but that sound is more important, specifically in horror, than even the visuals. There's so much you can do with sound. And again, for a small budget, I even heard an interview with the director about this end kind of scene that was supposed to be a lot more graphic, but he made up for it just with the sound, and then you saw the shot from behind, so you didn't quite see what was happening, but you heard it all. And to him, he's like, I actually ended up, at first I was pissed I didn't have the budget for it. Now I'm happy because of the sound. So I'll give him that with this, it's like really gross sound work for someone who's dying. So good on you. You don't have much to say on the matter. Damon reports, because Damon and Rhaenyra come to visit the king. Damon reports Corlys's condition to Viserys. Damon is convincing Viserys to take control of this succession situation, which is interesting because it's like this dude clearly has like a day left. I think literally in the show has a day left, or that night or whatever it is. And this is Damon's last chance to be like, look, you are the king. Like, you're heroined up. These people are taking full advantage of you. And yeah, I think that was cool of Damon to do that. And as you mentioned, interestingly, for a guy, we talked off mic how this guy is alpha male to the fullest. The rogue prince is a go-getter. You'd think a guy like this would be very much like grossed out by death and old age and like, oh, get this old ass dude off the throne so I have my own interests. Whereas no, he loves his brother and he is there for his brother, like literally to the end.
Yes, he's checking the tea because he asked for his tea to drink because of the pain that he's in. Damon's like smelling the cup and he's just like, these guys are just keeping him on milk of the poppy. Like, he's not getting medicine or treatment, which is exactly what he said. He's like, these people aren't out for you. They're out for themselves, and they're going to take you apart, which we've seen. We've seen them literally, like, let's heal them with leeches. Fuck antibiotics or healing leaves or whatever the one younger maester tried to offer him. Yeah, Damon's always been trying to look after his brother. He sees, which makes him legitimize with his way of doing things. It's like, yeah, when you try to trust in the council, it's like, this is what the council wants. It's like, not you. And he's very upset that they're like taking away the Targaryen regality of the castle.
Yeah.
And they're basically bedridden the king like this, and he's literally on his last days, and it's not quite settling with Daemon, which you'll see.
Which we shall see. Rhaenyra introduces Aegon and baby Viserys to zombie Viserys.
Which he's like, Viserys, that's the name of a king.
I made a joke.
I think he was happy. He was legit happy.
Yeah.
He's like, I have new grandbabies, and these ones have blonde hair. Real babies.
Even that one's named after my son, but let's move on. Totally good. As a total fuck you.
He probably disinherited him for, like 5 rapes prior. I don't know.
Oh, God. So, yeah, Alicent deals with, we are now with, I don't know where exactly it is, but somewhere near the Queen's quarters. I'm assuming that Alicent deals with this Diana the handmaiden situation.
She was supposed to be there to greet Rhaenyra because Rhaenyra even mentions that. But an emergency came up. Her knight said, no, you have to come. It's involving your son and an incident. She's like, oh, dear. But she doesn't seem like surprised. And it just made me think about this. Remember how the crown's always in debt? Do you think they're in debt because of all the women they had to pay off? I think Alicent's way paying off all of the ladies of King's Landing.
The 200-year-long debt is from like Harvey Weinstein payoffs.
Yeah, you owe the Bank of Bravos this much. That's a lot of Weinsteins your son caused.
So
oh boy.
Bad. Yeah, so the prince is a rapist apparently, and I don't just say that because it seems like a pattern. It's not just like he got drunk and raped someone, which. There's no excuse, obviously, but like a rapist, meaning like this seems like this is a Tuesday for this kid.
Is that mom? I was just having a little fun. What
Holy
are you talking about?
Shit.
The servant girls are here to serve.
Really good acting from Emma Darcy, like in the scene right before she confronts him, really good scene of kind of like, it wasn't your fault. She's very much playing the woman of holy shit, you got raped. Like, I'm empathizing with you. And I do believe her. I genuinely do. I don't think it's just manipulation. Like, if this was Cersei, don't think there'd be much genuine anything behind her eyes except this is what's good for my son, because the only redeeming quality I have as the evil queen is the love of my kids, so be it. Whereas Emma Darcy here is like, oh shit, my son's a fucking monster.
Isn't that Samantha Cook?
Who? Cersei? What?
Allison.
Oh, I thought Emma Darcy is who then? Olivia Cook.
Olivia Cook.
My bad. Who is Emma Darcy? Is that Rhaenyra?
That's Rhaenyra.
My bad. I meant to say yes. Thank you. Olivia Cook plays old Allison. Thank you. Yeah, so it's hard when the cast changes every 10 minutes, but hey.
True. Who?
Yeah,
Which one's the kid now?
But yeah, genuine, like woman to woman, holy shit, you got raped. But then immediately has to switch gears of, I'm a politician, I'm the mother of this kid. You know, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I thought she was going to get stabbed. My roommates were like, this is the part where Game of Thrones her. She's getting stabbed. Like, I believe you. And I was like, oh, you're going to say it. I'm like, but I don't want somebody else to believe you. Instead, she's like, here's a sack of money. Now shut your mouth. And then here's some blue tea. Star Wars has blue milk. We got blue tea. This one gets rid of babies. Yeah, drink up.
Had to be a Star Wars reference. There's no way.
It's like,
There wasn't a nod.
Why is the tea blue?
Yeah. And I'm sure Star Wars is going, hey, why does your abortion tea have to match our color, dicks? They could have at least done the green milk from that weird large-titted thing from Last Jedi.
That's where they get the abortion tea.
That's the milk of the poppy, and then they... That's why Luke was just whacked out the whole time. He's just on heroin.
That creature is called the poppy. I poppy.
And he's like, yeah, when Ray comes, he's like, bitch, there's nothing else to do around here. I'm just high on heroin this whole time. Swinging around.
Can eat porgs.
Speaking of a diminished version of a franchise.
Andor's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I got to see that. Yeah, I got to see that. I still haven't watched that. I've been burned by Disney Plus in the recent too much. But yeah, as you said.
Listen, watch
Werewolf, right?
Watch Werewolf by Night. That was amazing. And Andor's really good.
Hey, dude.
You like Rogue One? Andor's your show.
And as long as I know there's good shit coming, like, I will watch it. All right, back to, again, a diminished version of a good franchise. The clear blue abortion milk of Westeros. The tea, Your Grace.
Yep.
As the other handmaiden. So, and it was actually cool. I thought that felt Thrones of breaking it down, going, she's like, I will tell no one, Your Grace. You know, Diana was doing a really good job being fucking terrified. That felt very real. And then her going like, well, you've told the handmaiden who just gave the tea. You've told, who else did she tell? Oh, the knight.
The knight. Yep.
The Queen's Guard. And
the handmaiden that went to go tell the knight.
Right. And she's like, and you've told me. So, blah, blah, blah. So that was cool that she broke it down for the girl of like, you think you're being quiet, but now you really got to be quiet.
I'll tell nobody.
And as Louis C.K. calls it, here's the inexplicable amount of just like a sack of money. Just like in old times, it was like, here's your sack of money, sir. Oh, thank you for your pence. It's like, how much money is that? What is the money? What's going on there with that sack of money?
I don't know.
Allison wakes up her son. Again, this seems to be a theme when he's doing creepy sexual things of waking up Aegon.
Can we get Aegon's ass count? Because we got it when he was masturbating out the window. Then mommy had to take the sheets off, so we get the new actor's ass count. It's like, dun, 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 dun.
And it's just like, the worst part about this, on a moral level, not just kind of bad writing too, is like, she says nothing to this kid after having, again, this very female, like, holy shit, woman to woman moment of you got raped to, it's not, the rape's issue to her son is not that he raped a girl. It's not about Diana. It's not about the fucking moral implications of this. It's the honor of your wife and to me as your, like, dude, what?
Yeah. Remember,
shitty mother, dude.
She's all about the rules. Remember, she's like, I'm following the rules. Rhaenyra is the crazy rebel one. I'm not going to let you be like Rhaenyra. You bad boy. You're no son of mine. You piece of shit.
At least she said that.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm doing everything that you and father ask of me. Just let me bang bitches.
But it's also like, how would you expect a kid to learn from any of this too? Like, of course he's going to keep doing things like this if all you do is talk at him. And we talked last episode. It's like Rhaenyra talks to her kids, Alicent talks at her kid, and now she's saying, "You're no son of mine," which I agree with because he's a fucking creepy rapist. But she's not expressing to him why she is disowning him verbally, at least. Like, explain. Don't say that it's because of succession. Drove me nuts.
Yeah, and you see another correlation of that too, because the Alicent's not there when her sons are obviously learning or getting training, but Rhaenyra always is usually. Like, Rhaenyra was there when Jacaerys was getting his lessons in High Valyrian. So, like, she's around. And then baby Joffrey was there. And
she was, like, helping with the pronunciation, yeah.
Yeah, and she's looking after Joffrey, like... There's a difference between kind of like the good mom and the not good mom.
Yeah.
You could see it pretty easily.
Where it's like Alicent's doing the right things of at least she makes sure her sons are productive, keeps them busy. Like, that's really important. Even for parents who, again, talk at their kids, at least they're doing the right thing of keep them off the streets, essentially. Keep them busy, keep their brains moving, keep them active, fine. But, like... Yeah.
And
also,
this kid's got to keep this kid off the sheets. That's his problem. Get him on the streets.
Oh, God. Now, a woman comes in. Again, totally unclear, unnamed. She's supposed to dress the children. What happened to Diana? I'm assuming that's the wife of Aegon?
Yeah.
Who we've never met, has never, right? And then Alicent hugs her. What did you take from the hug of like... Oh, I feel so bad for you, lady rapist.
I feel so bad for you. Now you'll have to dress the children yourself.
Yeah, like, okay. What was I to take from that?
I don't know.
Like, you got shit on like I did? Like, what?
We spend a lot of time on these drug out scenes that do not matter. And there are more. Many more. I got constructive criticism, but, you know, we'll get to that. Just some of these scenes you just need to... We don't need that. Show us some other stuff, some fun stuff.
And I guess speaking of which, looking at how much more we have to go here, we'll just move a little faster. As we do every episode, we get caught up.
Westerosi Express it is.
Westerosi. Choo-choo.
Choo-choo. I need my fastest runner to run across the entire north and send a raven to Daenerys so she could send her dragons right over here and rescue us just in time before the zombies kill us.
Even though in season 1 it took a month to get from King's Landing to Winterfell.
Let's season 8 this shit. All right. Alicent finally greets the guest.
Yeah, so we're back at the king's quarters. Alicent greets her guest, quote unquote, the princess and Daemon.
Yeah. The king's drugged up as usual. They bitch at her for removal of Targaryen heraldry. The father's just interested in using religion for the cause. And it's like, yeah, okay. She's trying to justify everything. The mother, the brother. That's why I won't take back anything that you said here. Your backhanded attempts.
Yeah, she just keeps quoting scripture.
And it's like, okay, lady, whatever makes you feel good, sure. We get to the training yard. You know, the Jacaerys and Lucerys are like walking around. They're looking at everything. Like, look, I told you the mark would still be there on the wall. They're all excited to be back. And there's training going on. And they
reminded me a little... I wrote my notes, the two strong Robins, because they look so much like in that Dark Knights of Steel book, the way the Robins are dressed, the younger, obviously, as they sound... Robins in that story are like little pages that feed information, almost like the sparrows in Game of Thrones. Oh, yeah. They're basically the sparrows of this Dark Knights of Steel universe. And they looked so much like they're wearing these matching little cloaks. I was like, oh, they're little strong Robins.
Yep. They do. The two boys have their conversation about how they don't look like Valerians because they know why they're there, which is kind of funny they should say that because, you know, they're like, wait, we look like Harwin Strong. And it's like, yeah, but one of you doesn't look like a Strong. Just saying. It's like they made very good attempts to have Joffrey and Luke have the curly hair and literally look like Harwin Strong. But if you look at Jace doesn't have the curly hair. And he has a little bit darker toned skin. He looks like a certain other character that happens to be training in the yard. Sir Criston Cole fighting Aemon the Eye Patch Targaryen.
Which, if they wanted to actually make the show interesting.
Yeah, that's my big critique for this is instead of like this drawn out garbage drama that they do, you could just have it dawn on Criston Cole instead of him being a cucky idiot all the time. And he realizes, oh shit, that's not my son. In fact, have the spy master lady, who's worthless in this episode, literally give him the information. Go, Rhaenyra didn't take the tea, and he'll be like, what?
Dun, dun, dun.
He's like, you ever looked at that older son? He's not as strong. Now Christian Cole is in a position where he's been training the Targaryen boys, and they're highly aggressive towards Rhaenyra's kids. But now he's got to have a different stance where he's like, oh, that's my son. He's like, that's my son. And now he's stuck in a position where he's like, to duty and his fatherly responsibilities that he didn't even realize was a thing. Like, the thing he wanted most is to run away with Rhaenyra and have a family. And there he is, right there. What are you going to do? It's like, you're going to let Eye Patch just like whoop him up? I guess we'll find out.
No, but split loyalties, that would actually be interesting. You know what else would be interesting?
It's drama, and it's information only the audience and Christian Cole has, which means we get to see, we know things that the other characters don't. Unlike the Corliss part, where they just tell us stuff, and we watch the characters nonchalantly react, where if they just would have showed us the fighting on the boat, we would have known information, and we would have known how bad it was when they're terribly describing this information to Rhaenys, and be like, oh dude, it was bad. He got slit across the throat. A shark was biting his arm. It was not good. Who knows? But
and I would also say, before we move on here, because I know we are going to move faster, but it's like, on what you're saying, if you just cut out these stupid unnecessary parts, get to the point of things, make things a little more interesting when it comes to split loyalties, what I like to call succession, which is, sexual things happening in the show that deal with succession. Of like, this happened in Game of Thrones with the Lannisters, like those bastard incest children. That was a thing. This should also be a thing. And if it does become a thing, what annoys me is that it's not going to happen until it's too late. Like with by episode 8, you have basically a third of the show left. Out of 10 episodes, that's almost a third. Like, if they had just really accelerated things this episode, without rushing, of course, because again, you have an hour, you could have really done the Kristen Cole thing. You could have showed the shit with, you had the time to, I think, yes, I get that there's all these time jumps and it's a history book, but I felt like, especially after this time jump, it's all set up. Stop. This just felt like more setup, more setup, more setup.
Yeah, and there's lots of scenes to cut. You can cut a lot of the drawn-out conversations with the Queen and Aegon's wife. You can cut the whole thing with the White Worm. We're not using her right from the book anyway. She's supposed to be like
accent lady.
Yes, she's supposed to be a Varys type character in the book. We barely even get that. When we see her in here, it's like it's a palace person that works and tells her, so there's drama in the castle. No shit. As the audience, we just saw all the drama, and it doesn't matter that you learned anything about it. It doesn't matter at this point. Like, the drama is already going to happen that drives the show. It's like, cut that whole shit. If you want to use her correctly, where she's giving information that we, the audience doesn't know, and certain characters don't know, and now it changes how they react to the rest of the characters in the show. And we can push the story, push the drama, push the tension. Instead, we have just wasted scenes that waste the clock, where we're just constantly looking at the timer and wondering when this shit ends.
That's true. She could be both a device for reveal as well as, and subversion, as well as moving the plot the way, Varys would reveal things to the audience and then also put things in motion with his power. Which is
how they should have used Creepy Strong. And they did the same thing with Creepy Strong. Remember,
yeah, and he's not even in this fucking episode.
Yeah, he's on the episode. You literally had the dinners with him and the Queen, and he's like, you actually have information I don't. And then she goes and tells him the thing that we just witnessed. We don't need to see a spy character's reaction to information. We need to see a reaction to stuff we don't know from the spy. It's like when Littlefinger and Varys delivered lines and secrets, we were always stunned and shocked because of the revelations and the bombs that they fucking dropped on us. Instead, it's just, oh, that's how they learned. Is it? That's how they got. Of course it is.
Right. Characters that represent this idea of information can be more powerful than the actual crown. These are the true people in charge.
Yeah. So Vaemon shows up. He tries to look like a badass.
Yeah, so moving on, we're still in the training yard.
Vaemon, by the way, is Koros's brother. So he wants to be the one in charge. So he comes by. He's like here to try to get the crown.
Oh, and also real quick before that, Eye Patch Targaryen beats Kristen Cole in their little training thing.
Which we said that. We said
we did.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, he beat him up pretty good.
Take over, so Steven.
Which he was proud.
Yes.
We're in the Godswood, so the princess and the queen that never was. So Rhaenyra comes upon Rhaenys and, tries to ponder what her purpose is. They have their discussions, about her son's death. Because obviously, everyone has to believe that Laenor died, but we know, and obviously Rhaenyra knows, that he's off somewhere living his best life. But Rhaenys obviously doesn't know that, and so is a little bitter about that, and she didn't like Daemon anyways. So Rhaenyra proposes betrothing...
Rhaenys doesn't like Daemon.
Yeah, she never liked Daemon, because obviously Daemon took her favorite daughter away, and her daughter died instead of being
Who was also 17 at the time.
Yeah.
And he was 30.
Yeah, it was better than 12. But so Rhaenyra proposes to betrothing her kids and Rhaenys' grandchildren, the Valerians, together. She's intrigued, but she thinks that is it actually a good call, or is it out of desperation? And then Rhaenys warns that Rhaenyra is about to receive the High Tower's first punch, their opening blow. And you can see the kind of fear and pressure on Rhaenyra, which they do that very well. Rhaenyra is... her acting
Emma Darcy. This is Emma Darcy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her acting is very good. This is it's the compassion for her father, seeing him disintegrate the way that he is. And she comes to him and she's trying to talk sense to Viserys, and she's trying to find out if what he told her about the Song of Ice and Fire is true, if it really matters for her to be there, because she thought she wanted this. She feels like it's just not worth it, everything that's happening. She'd rather just raise her kids. And that's the biggest thing. She wants them to have the best that they can and raise them correctly. And motherhood will do that to people. So, and it's
you're busy enough. You got 6 kids.
Yeah, she feels the way of the crown. It's and if she said, and she has a really good line. I do like the line where she says, "If you wish for me to bear it, then defend me and my children." She's
was good.
She's pleading with her father to try, because it's the Hightowers. Otto is the one who proceeds over the council because he deals with all matters in the authority of the king while he's ill. Then we actually see how bad Viserys is. Viserys is getting worked on. Yeah,
mummy. I like to call this mummy maintenance.
He looks emancipated. He's super skinny, to the bone. Yeah, the breathing. He's missing. We don't see it yet, but he is missing an eye and chunks of his face on his.
It's that Boardwalk Empire guy.
Yeah, his right side. They make him a cool golden mask, though. I thought that was neat.
That was badass.
He's got deep sores on his back.
Dude, they're holes now. They're not abscesses. They were abscesses. They're black holes on his back.
Yeah, this is just what they need to do to prepare him. And he's like, Otto, prepare.
My skin is physically crawling right now.
Prepare a feast. I want to be able to see my family.
I want to have supper. It is morning, Your Grace.
I was I want to be able to prepare. Because it's going to take him a whole day to even do that.
Right.
But yeah, that's just...
It takes him 24 hours to get ready for dinner.
Yeah, well, when considering how it is, just standing him up, he was in physical pain. And Otto tries to hand him milk of the pie. He's like, no, I want my mind clear. And he refuses to take it, much to Otto's displeasure. Yeah. But it's whatever. Well, he ain't showing up for anything, so he can have his mind for right now.
And right there, real quick, there was a really cool long shot of him behind the giant model, which to me was this is what Old Valyria has now become.
Yeah.
Or at least currently, this is where we are, of this old ass decrepit, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Otto sits on the throne. He oversees.
Yeah, so we're in the throne room
petition.
On the day of petition. Yes.
Vaemon submits his petition for succession, and so he doesn't outright want to start slandering anybody. So, which is good on him.
At first, than
yeah. He straight up is just listen, the Stepstones War is still going on, and do you want a child in command of the nation's navy? or do you want somebody who can do it? Me.
Which was actually a conversation that they had in the King's Council privately, just the two, just Otto and
then he basically bribes Otto. He's like,
I have tons of money and power.
The heir of Valerian would be very very appreciative.
Yeah.
So they're kind of trying to make a deal. It's like, get me on that throne. He's like, yeah, I will. I'm the hand of the king, and I'm in charge. So.
And then I also there was a really good shot, another cool long shot, from the total opposite end of the table through a chair.
Yep.
Which gives you they call that almost a voyeuristic shot.
Yes.
Which gives you, ironically, even though it's far away, The Office did this a lot. The feeling of you have inside information into what a character is thinking. Yep. So it was almost like how the camera was a character on The Office and all these aggressive, weird shots. And that's what they would do with
like the fly on the wall.
Yeah, the fly on the wall. And I thought that was cool because it was right after a scene where you would think, she'd be all happy about this bribe. And meanwhile, it's like in her head, she's going like, is this what my fucking life has become? Just like these fake bribery moves for power. Yep. It was cool. I like that. Anyway.
And I thought that was an interesting contrast because both Alicent and Rhaenyra are feeling the weight of the crown and the bullshit, and they just don't want to deal with the bullshit anymore. They're tired.
Yeah,
the women are like, "No, we're done, guys." Stop.
Alicent just wants sex with an actual man that doesn't have black holes.
Yep.
And Rhaenyra just wants to basically do the same, but also
raise
have
her
dragons.
Kids. Well, she wanted uncle sex, and now she has it whenever she wants. And Daemon just wanted to be able to actually get it up and finish, so and he's got it. Yeah,
clearly, at least 3 times. All right, so Vaemon submits the succession again. We're back in the throne room later on.
Rhaenyra interrupts him and talks about her children have any right because they're Valerians, which we get a cool line from him. He's like, I could cut my veins and show it to you, and you would not recognize it. That blood of a Valerian. And I was like, whoo, spicy. Which they tell her, hey, Rhaenyra, shut the fuck up. You'll get your chance in just a second.
You'll get your turn.
So she gets ready to plead her case, and right when she's in the middle saying, it's like she was about to say 20 years ago, you guys all submitted to me being the heir. And right then, the doors swing open.
Once again, a Targaryen is interrupted.
Yep, a hobbling
giant door.
King Viserys, and they announce him, and the look on Otto's face like, oh no, he actually showed up. And he does. He's got his little stick. He's super hunched over. It's like trying to watch a skeleton trying to make his way across this room, and he did it
45 minutes later.
Because not only he had to walk from wherever his chamber is, which isn't very far from the throne room, all the way up to the throne, and he's barely able to make it. He gets to the steps. They try to help him. He's like, no, I can do it.
I like his insistence to walk too. He's like, no,
he
you're
has
not going
to
to carry
show
me.
the strength of the king. And he drops his crown, and then we see someone pick it up, put the hand. He's like, no, I can do it. And then you see that it's Daemon, and Daemon's not going to carry him up there.
I didn't notice that was the reveal. Yeah, good point. Yeah, that was a reveal. Yeah,
yes, because the last person to try to do it was one of the knights, and so you see that it is Daemon, and he looks and sees that it's Daemon, and he's like, "Go, I've got you." And he's like, "You can lean on me." He's like, "But you're going to do it." So he doesn't just like help him up the stairs. He just literally holds the crown and he puts an arm on his shoulder, and so he carries him. He carries himself up there, and Daemon gives him the crown. So that's the brotherly love that I've talked about in many episodes here with
Genuine
you guys.
Love, yeah.
It's like, while he gets banished and stuff, it's out of love because he doesn't want his brother to get, in trouble. And he knows that the council fucking hates Daemon. So he's basically trying to get him out of danger in the first place and get him out of trouble. And that's all he ever wanted. And all Daemon ever wanted was for his brother to, see the vipers in the room and try to look after him. And seeing his brother like this probably kills him inside. Because like I said, removal of the Targaryen heraldry, seeing the Targaryen waste away, this is unsettling to him. And he's just not going to stand for it.
Targaryens really are the Italians of Westeros. Just really dramatic. They're violent a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
But they really love each other. And they love power and money. And there's a lot of mafia / Italian history here. I like this.
Yep. So the king gives the king's command, man. He's like, straight up, it's like, these children are legitimized. Like, that is my heir. Lucerys is heir of Driftmark. That's how it shall be. And then he even said, instead of just ending like that, he goes, what does the current seat of Driftmark even think of what her husband would want? So ask Rhaenys. And Rhaenys like...
They're kind of like, why are you asking me? Why are we talking about this? Yeah.
Rhaenys like, oh, I get a fucking say in this? Oh, she looked shocked, but it's the whole thing. The Targaryens are tight-knit. And she's like... And she speaks the truth. She's like, I know what my husband wants. I knew from the beginning, and I was with it. He wants his grandson to be the one who is on the throne. So that would be Lucerys. And Rhaenyra made a very
good point. He wasn't worried about
offer.
the blood thing.
Yeah,
it was the name. Yeah,
it's just the name. It's the history books, which is what Vaemon
he
tries to
said,
say. He's
yeah.
like, all he cares about is the history books, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you fucking think. My husband, the Lord of Driftmark, says this, and this is what he wants. Now the king asks me, what does my husband want, and if I go along with it? And she said yes. And she's like, Rhaenyra gave me an excellent proposal.
Didn't even really have to do. He didn't have to do that, but he was like, no. I want to hear your side of it. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was very good, because I think it ultimately legitimizes it from several angles. It's like, listen, word from her mouth is the same from Corlys's mouth as far as him and the realm.
Good point.
Shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
And so that's all the king needs to hear. And then it's like, and then Rhaenyra decided to want to marry the kids to my grandkids.
This
And
really
it's
is
like,
the
that's
most
excellent.
effective Viserys has ever been as a politician.
Yes.
He's always avoided people commonly or saying
And I think
that
because
it's hard for him to have difficult conversations, confrontations.
he heard his daughter's plea. It's like, if you want me to bear the weight, it's like, defend me. And he did, but he did it justly, because it's not just defense for no reason or defense for the sake of defense. It literally came down to Rhaenys as well. Like, if she was probably opposed to it, it may have been a harder sell. Like, he may have still tried, but... And then, well, Vaemon doesn't want to deal with that. So he doesn't say, it's like, I will run my house as I see fit. You can run yours, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's
like,
getting
shit.
he's getting all uppity, and he's about to say it. And Daemon, I love Daemon's always in the back instigating. He's just like, fucking say it, you
And he
little
actually
bitch.
says, he's like,
Say it, you little bitch. He's like, her sons are bastards and she's a whore. Viserys fucking pulls out his dagger. I will have your tongue. And before we could see anything else, Daemon chops that head off, leaves the tongue intact. It's like, he could keep his tongue. I was like, all the guards are like, disarm him. He's like, whoa, it's okay.
It was actually Otto who says it.
It's like-
Otto was like, disarm him.
It's like, it's fine. What are you talking about?
I'm good. Wipes his
like-
blade.
Yeah. Took care of that
Yeah,
one.
he's just like, no need.
And that shows you too. It's like Daemon's like, yeah, all this dancing around treason shit. Treason is treason, as the old maester used to say in Game of Thrones. Treason is treason. Daemon's like, death.
Who is that, Pycelle?
Yeah, Pycelle used to say that all the time.
By the way, Pycelle fucks.
Yeah, Pycelle does fuck. He pretends to look like Viserys. Baby, let's get down.
Even in that same throne room, remember it takes him like 10 minutes to get to Ned Stark, and Ned Stark's looking around like, what is happening? Old hat.
Oh, man.
So then, after this half decaf, I like to call it.
Yep.
People order half calf, half decaf, half regular coffee.
Yeah.
I like to call that a half decaf. I don't know if I've ever seen that of half of a head being chopped off just above the tongue.
Yep.
Which is like a witty thing to do, but in a physical way. Like he made a little joke by chopping the head, keeping the tongue.
Yeah. I almost, if he didn't get disarmed, I thought he was going to brain the tongue to his brother. Like, straight up, just like, yoink. Here you go.
That felt almost like it was so gory and gross, and then even the line right after, he can keep his tongue. All that felt, I was like, this is almost Evil Dead level, like comedy / yeah. All right, so we really got to move here. So now the maesters prepare Vaemon's again, half decap body. Rhaenys seems pretty fascinated to watch. So what is this? Why do you think this is like she's watching what she knows to be the last true Valyrian of the line?
Well, other than her grandkids.
Yeah, but not in a what do they call it? Patriarchal world.
Kinda. And they're like,
or I'm asking, I guess. Do you think that's what that is?
maybe. I think it's her like seeing the end, because she doesn't know the status of her husband. So I think she's preparing herself, because they even say this, like, you shouldn't see death. Let the silent sisters handle this. So, like, the stranger visits me all the time. It doesn't matter if my eyes are open or closed. And I think that means is like she's haunted at night by what's going to happen if her husband is dead. Yeah. Because it's still unknown. We don't see it. They say it's like 3 days out, yet we go to King's Landing, which should take a couple of days, and we still don't know. Like, no one knows the condition of him. Even the king asks, like, what is his condition? Like, oh, we don't know. As an audience, as any character in the show, no one knows what the fuck's going on. So I think that's why she looks at it. She's staying up at night, wondering, which is the stranger. And so seeing death, like, legitimizes it. Like, she's preparing herself for the outcome. Okay, I think is what it is.
All right, so now we got to move on. We have a dinner time, but I guess real quick, there was a really cool, again, gross, almost Evil Dead level, graphic ass shot of half of the head and then the other half. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, they're getting ready to sew it back on so they can put him in a casket. We'll have the body prepared for your return to Driftmark.
That was badass. Yes. Good shit. Yes, very Game of Thrones. Dinner time. Last supper, baby.
Yep. It's all the family there. They walk Viserys in on like a palanquin, basically.
Two really good awkward looks between these former best friends of Alicent and I like that. Really good acting.
Yep.
Good composition too. Like they were real far apart in the shot.
Oh yeah. They give Viserys gives a very good speech, about how his heart is heavy and it brings him sorrow and pleasure to looking at the table. It's like of how long it's been since they've been here, but how happy he is to see all of his family. And you're getting the real sense of feeling like this is the last time. And I think he knows, like, this is the last time I'm going to see my family. He takes off the golden mask. He's like, I want you all to see me as I am. Then we see the gross, like, Walking Dead zombie look where he's got no eye and the face is all sunken. He's even got a hole right here. Like, it's gross.
You could see, that deep eye hole. You could see the inner bones, like the ocular hole. It's like, whoa, dude.
Yeah. Rapey Aegon's probably looking at the hole like,
Get down with it.
Yeah, I can do that. There. So after hearing the king's speech, Rhaenyra stands up and gives a toast, and she toasts to Alicent, just kind of like old friendships, a little bit apologizing to her when considering it's a very big contrast from the last interaction they had where, you see her scar and Alicent looks down at it and Rhaenyra immediately hides her hand. So that kind of like reminder is there. And Alicent looks so saddened at the same time, like confused and saddened to hear her even say anything positive to her, to where she stands up and says the same thing.
Now I got to be nice, yeah.
Yeah, but I think
she feels bad. Yeah.
I think she legitimately feels bad. Yeah, like the women do a great job of acting, both in this, Alicent and Rhaenyra. And she's straight up like, I think you'll make a fine queen one day. And you see the camera like leans over to see Otto, and I was like, oh, because that's where he realized.
Along, damn it.
Well, he realizes that his daughter's given up. It's like the weight of the crown is done. He's like, the game's over for us.
Wow. Okay, I didn't put that together. Like, I thought it was more like a bitterness that they're getting along.
Yeah.
Good point.
And and that's what it is. And then the rapey Aegon is kind of tormenting Jacaerys.
Taunting Jace.
Yeah, it's like, oh, do you even know how to stick it in or what hole, buddy? You've got to finally have sex. And then he goes over to his future betrothed, and it's like, if you ever want to have some good time instead of this bad time, I could show you. Which he gets super upset. He slams the table. But he composes himself a little bit, and he's like, okay, I'll give a speech. And he gives a speech about his cousins and his obviously future wives, and he's very polite. He's like, wishes them well.
Well spoken. I actually like this kid. I think
he did a great job, and he sits down and is all normal, and everything seems to be going well. He's like, play some music, drop that beat, DJ, and so Jace takes Aegon's wife and goes to dance with her.
Oh, that's who that was?
Yeah, okay. And it's like, okay, we're gonna dance with you.
I thought it was the sister, but
yeah. This same thing basically.
Because
so it takes Helena to go dance and have fun because she's always the weird one that doesn't get along with anybody.
Got it.
And he says, "Pardon me" to his future betrothed. So like like trying to be polite. It's
a little bit of may I cut in type thing. Yeah.
gonna spend some time with my family and then do some things. So, and Viserys he looks happy, but then the heavy breathing, he's like, oh boy. And so they have to take him away because he's starting to feel the pain. So they take him away, but everyone's enjoying their meal. Like he sees that Rhaenyra's actually smiling while eating, Alicent smiling while eating. Everything's all good. Yeah. They bring a nice roasted pig over to Aemon,
put it right in front of him,
and Luke just can't help but to kind of giggle and laugh, and that's what Aemon's been waiting for. He's like,
a callback to the dragon thing, right?
Yeah, which is why he probably ordered it in the first place. Is he's like, go ahead.
You think that was a big order? Fuck you.
I think so too. I think he did it on purpose to get a giggle out of them. And as soon as they did, it gave him a chance to stand up because he was just like, fine, I guess I don't get to really say anything salty or aggravate these guys. But then they giggled at him, and he's like, all right, motherfucker. It's like, so I hope my nephews grow up to be strong. He's like, I dare you to say that again. It's like, what? You don't think you should be strong? I'm like, oh boy. Alistair's like, why are you saying shit like this? What the go to your room.
Yeah, go to your room.
And they're about to like throw down.
Well, one of them did punch him. He punched him right in the face.
Yeah, he did punch him in the face. And then Daemon kind of gets in between them. That's where Daemon has that smirk like, this fucking kid. He's me. It's like, I love this kid, but fuck him.
I love this kid.
Fuck him. And
I'm
everyone's like,
I need to.
It's like, I need to take the kids home. It's like, but you're gonna leave. It's like, how about I come back on Dragonback? It's like, I know I'm very pregnant, but I walked through the entire castle after just giving birth, so I can handle riding on a dragon.
Yeah, which you made me do, bitch.
So this is my sixth kid, anyways. Whatever.
So I didn't understand exactly what that was with. They have this really nice moment together again as friends, but when she goes, I'll leave on Dragonback, and she goes, the king and I would like that very much. What?
Because they're going to leave to take the kids home to Driftmark. And she's like, it's going to be sad to see you go. And she's like, I'll leave on Dragonback to come back to King's Landing to be with Viserys and Alicent, because obviously they're trying to
didn't get that at
friendship.
all. Okay, so meaning I'll return on Dragonback.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Again, not clear.
And she's like, we would like that very much. And obviously it's going to be too little too late as Viserys is not going to make it. But in the middle of the night, it's Alicent that comes to take care of him. And the past night, it was Rhaenyra. And he called out Alicent. And Rhaenyra was like, no, it's me, your daughter. And then asked the question about the Song of Ice and Fire. So the king being loopy on Milk of the Poppy and dementia and dying, he says, you asked me before. He's like, asked you what? It's like about if it's true, the Song of Ice and Fire. And he explains the thing to her very vaguely. He's like, yes, Aegon. He's like, Prince Aegon, our son? He's like, Aegon must be on the throne. There must be a Targaryen on the throne. And he kind of starts to go to sleep. And Alicent's like, I will do your bidding, my king. And because she interprets this as, our son Aegon has to be on the throne. She thought everything was fine, and then she thinks Viserys is telling her, and she's a woman of duty. She's like, okay, I got to get my son on the throne. I was like, that's our Three's Company. We made a misunderstanding.
I thought he was saying this, but in fact, he was saying this.
Yeah.
It's like, is this a sitcom or is this a fucking show about Succession? Ugh.
Yeah, and
so bad.
So it's real sad.
The writer was saying that he thought he was talking to Rhaenyra.
Yeah. And
so stupid.
And because he could barely see, and he's in a lot of pain.
Right.
So much pain that he starts saying out loud like, no more. Yeah. Just no more.
Oh, that was the no more thing.
Yeah, because of the pain. And then it kind of zooms away to the dagger on its stand because it's a reminder that's the Song of Ice and Fire. And she misinterpreted it.
My love. Why was that the last line?
That's to represent that he's talking to Rhaenyra.
Even though he's not.
Yeah, he does. He's dying. And then obviously it even cuts and it says breathing stop. If you have the subtitles on, it says breathing stopped as he obviously dies at that moment. And the episode just ends black, and that's it.
Yeah, black, no music. I noticed that.
Well, I've got to go open the store.
Yes, we have to open the store. And unfortunately, actually, the IG comment I thought would pay off this episode, and literally, Lara Strong is even in this episode. So yeah, I will wrap things up here. Open the store, Steven. Once again, subscribe to audio. We are on Spotify. We are on youtube.com/Above and Batman Beyond. Subscribe on YouTube as well. This has been episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. This is our recap review. Follow us on Instagram at House of the Dragon Pod. Facebook coming soon. And check out Davinci's Dreamworks 2 comic shop. We got comics, we got games, we got a Song of Ice and Fire stuff. So I have been Benjamin, and on behalf of Sir Stephen, thank you for joining us in entering